kick every episode off by going around the table, which is where we talk about something new, fun, and noteworthy about our weeks. Luke, you look happy. Why don't you talk?
I am happy.
With a declaration like that, who could question it?
Yep. No, man, it's been a rough week. I've been helping my dad doing some framing, and it's actually like hot like the rest of the United States now in Ohio. So it's hot.
It is not hot yet.
It's hot. It was 80. It was 80 in Ohio. That's hot.
Okay.
Compared to always 30, 80 is hot.
I agree, but I'm saying a month from now, this won't feel hot anymore.
Well, maybe.
80 is like, that is like nice.
It's your first experience of hot this year, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're saying like relatively it is now hot. This will become natural and this will feel great in a couple of months.
Absolutely. You're right. Logically, you are right. But right now,
Thanks.
working outside in that is hot and it sucks.
Okay.
Other than that, man, so much stuff. There's so much cool stuff.
Haven't heard about any of it.
Well,
Other than that, I have a whole bunch of stuff.
Pick one thing.
Well, I want to pick more than one.
You can pick 4 things.
4 things? Okay.
I did this, but I said 4.
Okay. Well, here's one. Have you guys tried Hint yet? Have you ever had Hint? It's
I feel like I have once.
hashtag not sponsored for the record. It's like
Awesome.
water, but it has a hint of flavor. And
Hashtag not sponsored.
It's really good.
But realistically, is it better than every other
Yes.
water with a hint of flavor?
Yes, because it has nothing bad. Like there's no MSG, no calories, no nuts, peanuts, soy, gluten, preservatives, like no artificial sugars, nothing. It's like all natural, and it's just basically water with a hint of flavor, and that's super
My dad
good.
drank water every day and got cancer, so I just don't know. I don't know what to believe.
But did he?
I don't know where to go from here. But he also beat cancer.
Right.
So
That's true.
And he was still drinking water, right? So
He actually stopped, and now he's he didn't drink hint.
I was gonna say he started drinking Hint.
no, I've been trying to drink more water and cut out other things. So this is a really good alternative than just straight water that tastes like nothing. Other than that, I started watching Cobra Kai. Have you guys started watching it yet?
No.
It's on
No.
YouTube Red.
Well, I know the first 2 episodes are free on YouTube.
It's so good. So good.
Can you wait to talk about it like for real until like next week?
Yeah, I'm just going to say
Okay.
it's good. If you don't have YouTube Red, I would say it's worth paying for it for a month. Just sign up for a month and watch it, and then you can cancel. But it's good enough to pay a month to watch it.
Okay.
The other thing is board games. Been playing a lot of board games. I got Clank and the new Mummy, Curse of the Mummy expansion. I'm excited
Had
to
you
play
not
that.
had Clank up to that point?
I hadn't had it up to there. Yep.
Oh.
And
Now
then
we all 3 have it.
we're gonna start in a couple days. We're gonna start Charterstone, which is the Stonemaier Games legacy game. Excited for that. And God of War is really, really good. I'm almost done with it, and it's super, super good. That's worth buying a PS4 just to play that game. Seriously, it's so good. Other than that, that's it. Done.
Okay.
Who are you
That was
tossing
4
it to?
things.
That was 4 things. Good job.
Patrick has a face. Andrew should
absolutely.
talk.
For
there's,
radio.
there's 2 things I can. I don't think it's funny. I just wanted to let there be dead air for a second so you could hear no one laughing at your joke. Hope you
Yeah.
enjoyed it, Andrew.
Yeah.
Listen, to be fair, we can never hear anyone laughing at our jokes.
Well, there you go. So
You're being a
first
real
one,
friend right now. That's a throwback.
So Dan McLaughlin, I don't know if you're aware of him. This is there was something called the
Pete's
Dan
brother?
Plan, and the idea was that a guy quit his job and he decided that he was going to put 10,000 hours into playing golf. He didn't have a background playing golf. He had, he read the Malcolm McDowell book Outliers, which states that those that are professional have invested like 10,000 hours into the thing that they're doing.
Sure.
And so he decided, well, fine, I don't really know much about golf. I don't play that much, so I'll just quit my job and play golf, invest 10,000 hours, and try to be a pro. And that's what he did. So he contacted the guy from the university that Malcolm McDowell cited, and he started working towards it. And he over the course of the first 5,000 hours or so, he actually got into the top 6% of golfers for his I don't know. I don't play golf, so I don't know if it's like your average par or whatever the terminology is. I'm not the guy. I know it's top 6% because I'm good with that number. I can remember that number. It doesn't matter the rest. The point is he got good, pretty good. So 5,000 hours invested, and he was keeping a blog of this as this was going on. This was for several years, and he got to 6,003 hours before he messed up his back and had to stop. So he had to end up quitting his 6,000 hours. That being said, looking back on it, you can still go through and you can read the blog, and I'll post a link to it in the show notes. The Atlantic did a great article on Dan, but it's very interesting, the idea that you don't have to be born with something.
Sure.
that mastery at something is in a large part because of your desire to be a master at something and to pursue something unrelentingly. Now, there are some other notes, and again, the Atlantic article teases this, and there's more resources you can look at, especially linking from Dan's blog. There are some other notes that passion plays a part. I mean, Dan chose golf because your physique didn't really matter a lot, and he could, jump in and start, and even though he was a newbie. But just imagine if it had been something that he was just like, you're going to have to drag me off the course. I love playing so much. So passion plays a part. But then also he got injured. He got knocked out after 6,000 hours. So certainly there is a level of, I don't know if luck is the word, but of being able to survive long enough to accumulate that. And then also time spent. I don't know if you've ever heard the phrase, does someone have 10 years of work experience or 1 year of experience 10 times? But the idea is that just accumulating a bunch of hours doesn't get you somewhere. You have to put time in, but the time has to be directed, it has to be intentional, and it has to be all those things. And so in his story, you kind of learn how the first year or a year and a half was actually really unfocused with the way he was. His approach was focused to him, but when it comes to actually like pushing yourself to get better, it was actually a very bad approach. It wasn't until later that he brought on some actual teachers and trainers and stuff like that. So anyway, all of it's really, really fascinating. Again, his name's Dan McLaughlin, the Dan Plan, and just go check it out. I think it's a really cool study.
That's an interesting idea because it kind of, if you boil it down, maybe I'm oversimplifying, but it's the idea of like you can tell your kids they can be anything, right? If they put enough time. But what about like if they just don't have a good voice or they're just really not good at football? Like, I don't think
if you're not good at football, you'll never make it as a golfer.
No, but I think it's another side. The other side of that is like you still have to have some sort of talent. There are certain things where you have to have a certain talent or you can't be good at it.
Well, that's what's being challenged. In fact, there is another person. His name is Laszlo Polgar, and he did something. He's a chess master, and he is of the opinion that mastery is not an innate ability. Mastery is determination. Mastery is a decision and a pursuit. And so what he did is he decided, pre-decided that his daughter was going to be a chess master. That's what he decided. Okay. And he started training her from an early age to be a chess master. And she ended up being a chess prodigy. And so he was just trying to say that, when we think about prodigies, we think about, man, that's lucky for that parent, or that's lucky for that kid that he just happened to be 1 in a million or whatever. And he said, no, I'm not going to he said, I'm going to make my kid a prodigy. And his kid ended up being a prodigy. So that's a very good story to look up as well. Just look up the Grandmaster Experiment, and there's a good Psychology Today.
I still go back to, there are certain things that require a level of aptitude that you
Height
can't.
is preferable on a basketball court, but there are short basketball players.
It's not about that. You still have to be able to dribble and shoot if you're not tall.
But the point is, invest the time into it, you can get there. Like, that's the idea. It's saying
But
that.
I don't agree with that, because you can't. There's some people that just aren't good singers. Even if they take the time and have training, they still don't have an ear. They're still not going to be a master.
Tone deaf.
Yeah, they could sing, but they're not going to be a master. I don't
Maybe
think mastery. I think you can put time in and be good at something to be acceptable or passable, but I don't think mastery is something in certain things that you can just achieve by putting the time in.
And that is what this tests. And so the psychologist that Dan worked with, what he's wanting to do is get funding, because having one person pursuing this is not enough to answer the question, right?
Right.
So he's wanting to get funding where he can have several Dans in several different areas do the same thing. Actually focus solely on one thing for several years, starting at a 0 point, trying to accomplish, in his case, would have been being a pro golfer, but it could be in a different arena. Certainly there are things that give people, how do I say this? I said like a height on a basketball court, that is an advantage. The same way that you could argue in singing that the ability to, hear pitch a certain way is an advantage. It's no different. Certainly there are things that give people advantages, like biological advantages. It could even be like a personality type or an emotional type that makes more sense for one area than another area. But the question again is 10,000 hours with the proper training, the proper approach. Can you hit that level of mastery? And I tend to lean in the camp that it's possible with nearly anything.
I think the hardest part for that, to make
because saying someone invested a lot of time, again, it's not the same as someone having the intentional time and the right teacher and like pushing the correct direction.
Sure. I think the problem that will stem, or the problem for like any scientific study, is how do you know that you're getting the same baseline for the starting people? Because depending on what you're picking as your pursuit, certain people, they all have to start at the same place, or it's really hard to know who actually excels. Like if I'm thinking musically, for instance, and it's like, just go back to vocals, you have to know that person has never had the ability to sing or a natural bent towards singing to be able to start at the same baseline as other people. It's how do you find, if you're doing 20 people, those 20 people that have never sang or never, like, how do you know that they don't have that and that just have never tried or have never, like, people have those abilities without trying, and they don't realize it until they try it. You know what I mean?
I have two thoughts. So I have three thoughts. One is more of an anecdote, and that's with me playing drums. I had a lot of a natural ability initially. There is a point where like natural ability leaves, and there is a point where you have to push beyond. And I think less of an anecdote and more of a real scenario. Hiking the Appalachian Trail. So there was a study done where they actually looked at hikers of all different like body build, physique, like athletic level, all these type of things, and then across gender, age, whatever. And they said, and they looked at their starting. So for not just starting, they looked at them for the entire time hiking the AT. And they looked at their performance. And one of the main indicators of performance was miles per day that you hiked. And what they said is, regardless of where you started, okay, whether you started as an Olympic athlete or you started as like a 350-pound morbidly obese, whatever, it doesn't matter. Regardless of where you started, within 6 weeks everyone had the same average mile per day within 6 weeks. And so the idea there is that, yes, you can have a lot of ability, you can have a lot of training, you can have a lot of whatever, but you hit a point, and now part of it has to do with the type of activity this is, that it normalizes it. But again, I just think that there is absolutely such a thing of having a natural bent towards something or having like a natural gift or talent. I do think there is a point in progression where your talent your natural ability is no longer benefiting you, and it is now the time that you've invested that's benefiting you. And that's something that I personally have experienced. So that's just like my opinion about the scenario. Now, in any case, whether it's true or not true, or whether you ultimately have to be born with it, or if it's Maybelline or whatever, it doesn't matter. With anything, it's not going to be handed to you. You're not just going to I'm going to sit on my couch and do nothing, and oh shoot, man, it turns out I'm a prodigy in this thing over here. I didn't even realize it. That's not going to happen. With anything, it is your effort, intentionality, putting time in, whatever. Even if it's uncovering or honing natural ability, you still have to put the time in, the effort, the all those type of things. So if you want to do something, just do it. Put time into it. I mean, I think that's the really simple thing. Things aren't off limits just because you're 35 years old and you've never tried it before. That doesn't mean it's like for the rest of your life you can't mess with that thing now. It's not yours. So, but I believe that if you gave me 10,000 hours in a pickleball racket, I could be a champion. I'm going to go and say that right now. So if anybody would like to invest in me, if there's a college
I would like to say
that wants to use me as a guinea pig, I'm available.
Why can't you just do it? Why can't you just put 10,000 hours in?
I have a job and a family.
Just off time.
I have a podcast that I do.
Now, we'll let you.
Besides this?
All right, anyway, so Dan McLaughlin, look it up. I'll put it in the show notes. Andrew.
I love the idea that it's possible that maybe it's just Maybelline.
I think it's fully possible.
Okay, so a couple things I'm going to rapid fire through. I ordered from Nikki Davis. You guys familiar with Nikki Davis? Mm-hmm. He's an artist. He's a Houston-based artist.
Houston.
And he put up on his Instagram that he had mugs, some fun mugs that he designed that he was giving away through his shop. You just had to go get one and then pay for shipping. So I was like, yeah, that's cool. I'll do that. So here's the mug. I'm going to show it.
Hey!
That's just kind of his signature character. And it says, I need coffee.
That's cool.
So he sent me this, and it was free. I mean, I paid whatever it was, a few dollars for shipping. But he also sent this and tucked it in there with it, which is a limited edition, massive limited edition
Look at that.
pin.
Dang, that's huge.
It's like, right, it's a variant. It's like 2.5 inches, maybe closer to 3-inch pin.
Holy cow.
You can still get this pin on his shop, but he
That's
sent it to me
soft
for free.
enamel, right?
It's soft enamel, yeah.
That purple looks good.
It's really cool. So thank you, Nikki. I think we might have him on the show sometime in the near future. I can't remember if I have already scheduled him or not. I probably should have asked Patrick prior to starting, but that's okay. But if he's not scheduled, I think we'll probably talk to him sometime in the future because he's a really rad artist. He does like graffiti art as well as toys, as well as traditional like stuff. So I think we'll hopefully talk to him. So that's one thing. These are these guys that I got a couple weeks ago out of the box. I finally unboxed them.
Yeah.
And they look great. I'm trying to
that
get the
sheen
camera.
is so nice. That finish.
They're just good. Like I'm really happy with these figures. They're really great. And then I got these guys a couple of weeks ago as well, but haven't had an opportunity to show them yet. The Cuphead and Mugman pop vinyls. They are really hard to find in my area. They sold out really quickly, and even to the point where GameStop wasn't able to reorder them. They couldn't order them even from their distributor. But I happened to find the pair of them at my local comic book shop, and the paint job on them is great. So like that worked out really well.
Give it up to Pop for making all their stuff. The finish, the quality is really great for the price point.
Oh yeah,
And the price point is really great.
exponentially better than where they used to be. If you go back and listen to some of our early shows, you heard us all griping about the quality of Funko stuff, but where it is now, when you consider the sheer volume that they're creating, and then on top of that, the quality control is exponentially higher than where it used to be. I'm
And the
I continue
variety.
to be impressed.
I mean, if you like there's a license or a property you like, Funko probably has it, and that is such a nice thing. Like, yes, they're not the same. They're not the designer toys we talk about, but man, I think they're great.
Yeah, and then here's the other thing. I've been playing. I was gonna pull it up. I don't need to pull it up, but I've been playing Celeste on the Switch.
Oh yeah, what do you think?
I love it. Have you played it?
I haven't
Luke?
played it yet.
I love it. It's challenging. It's fun. We heard about this first from Bethany Heck at Creative South. I don't think that episode's aired yet, but you'll hear her talk about it in a few weeks probably in one of our hot seat interviews. But went home, downloaded it. It's an 8-bit mountain climbing platformer where the protagonist and ironically the antagonist are both the same girl. And it's a split personality deal. And she's fighting like the worst parts of her. It's a really it's a unique story for a platformer type game, given that it's an 8-bit style game. It's a platformer, but it deals with real world issues like depression and anxiety and these crazy undertones of real life situations worked into the story arc. But it's very cool. The illustration, there's some illustrative work inside of it as well. The characters, beyond being 8-bit, when it shows like still frames of them and various things, they're illustrated, and I love it. Like I'm hoping to. I haven't like Google searched to see if I could find images of them, but I want to draw them because they look really cool. So if you have a Switch, I think it's $20 on the Nintendo eShop. Well worth it. It's an 8-level platformer, and it's 8-bit. But you like learn skills, and you the further you go along, you have to apply all of those skills to beat these puzzles in these platformer areas, and you're making your way through this mountain that has kind of unique elemental attributes to it. It's really neat. I think I'm looking around. I'm going to see Infinity War again tomorrow.
Nice.
I'm excited for that. We recorded like a whole set. We should say this. We recorded a whole secondary, like a part 2 of our Infinity War discussion. So if you listen to last Tuesday's episode, you heard our full review of Infinity War. Well, Zach Wilkinson, who was on the show with us as our guest, invited us on to his show as his guest to do a part 2. Creatoring.
How did my list play?
Fine.
Yours was pretty well on par with mine and Zach's, honestly.
Okay.
Luke's was a bit of the wild card, so go listen to that episode. I think it's live now. We'll put the link to that in the show notes. I think
I couldn't be there because it was my anniversary.
Yeah.
But Patrick still contributed to the conversation.
I still contributed.
Mm-hmm.
But it was another hour and 20-minute conversation. Like no
Hold on to
joke,
your
it was a
butts.
ton of Infinity War. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to go see it again. I don't want to talk about it anymore though. But that's it for my week. So I guess we'll call that the end of the Around the Table. Up next, we're going to talk about some master categories. You can find the links in the show notes and everything we talked about right below us if you're watching this on YouTube. While you're at it, give it a like, give it a share, give it a subscribe. That helps us out so much. If you want to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/M of1podcast. I throw a couple bucks in there each month. That helps a ton. You can also subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Review and rate in all of those different platforms, whatever you listen or watch this on, because it helps us out so much and it doesn't cost you any money.
Yeah.
It takes very little time, but it has a great impact. So please do that from the bottom of our hearts. The M of One store is officially open. The shop is open. Go to shop.mof1podcast.com to get some great apparel, a pin, a mug, and apparel.
Well,
I think
here's
that's
the
all there
thing,
is,
too.
right?
You buy a mug as well, you might find something stuffed in there.
Yep.
There you go.
Like a
receipt.
spider.
Yeah. But do that; it helps us out a ton, and you can, you can rep the podcast while you're at it. It's fantastic. Go to mf1podcast.com where you can find a whole slew of archive episodes. We're almost to 300 episodes. Go on there, listen to people besides us talk about what they do because they are incredibly talented, incredibly cool, and generous with their time. Hit up the archive on our podcast page, and finally, you can also join the conversation by hitting us up on social media at mf1podcast or mf1podcast.com/family, and you can join our Discord channel, which is just, it's happening. It's bouncing all day long. People in there sharing ideas, sharing their work, having a good time and chatting, so you can be a part of that conversation as well. But for now, we're going to hop out of this episode. I'm Andrew.
I'm Patrick.
And I'm Luke.
Peace out.
Bye.
Hold on to your butts.